time being out, I think that they did a pretty good job. I mean, in my personal opinion, the PS3 controllers aren't any good. They're not comfortable.
Oh no, by no means am I saying the PlayStation controllers are comfortable. They are not. But when you're talking about like the Xbox 360 controllers, those things they're amazing.
Yes, they are.
And
Absolutely.
I want like I say, I want controllers that are comfortable, something that I can actually use. Now, the one thing that I do like that the Ouya did is the sticks, how they're not on the same level. I don't know why, but for some reason, that is uncomfortable. People say, "Well, it's symmetrical. Your hands are symmetrical." Well, yeah, but they're not quite exactly. You have a dominant hand and stuff like that, and that really comes into play when it comes to ergonomics.
I agree. It does look like the handle, the grip part, it's going to be too small and too a little uncomfortable. But it looks like it has a better design than what the PS does at all. It looks like it will fit in your hand better than what the PS3 supports. Will.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that exact same statement. I think most people that game for an extended period of time with their PS controllers, they do not like them. And I think a lot of that was the sentiment when most people were talking about leaving the Xbox One for various reasons. They wanted to know, is there a way to use their Xbox controller on the PlayStation 4 just because the gameplay with that controller is just egregious.
Yeah, and Blood Glacier actually mentioned the new controllers about if I don't know if you guys have noticed or if you've really actually got a good look at them. They have redesigned the controller for the PlayStation 4. Now, I personally am really glad for that change. It does look way more comfortable, but I want to know if it really is because it looks a lot more comfortable, but is it really? Because it does kind of still have that weird design from before.
To me, it looks like the grips on the left and right side there are a little bit smaller around, so it'd be easier to grip. And it looks like the top is definitely, or it's definitely a larger controller than before, as far as from if you're holding it down like you normally would between you and away from you. However, like you're saying, it does look uncomfortable, and I know uh, I know several people, like you were saying, were asking before about switching from Xbox 360 to the PS4. They were talking about, well, how can I get a better controller for the PS4, this and the other thing. And there was actually some companies start popping up that would take the shell of the 360 controller and rewire it with the PlayStation 3 controller to make it work with the PS3. I don't know if there's still some out there, but
I could deal with that if somebody could do that, then I might switch.
now I don't think they'll be able to do that with these new systems because PlayStation 4's controller, from what I've seen, it's got a screen on it. It's got a little bit different button layout, but still pretty much the essential four buttons, two sticks, and then your D-pad.
Now you see the D-pad's completely in the wrong spot. If they could move that D-pad down, it would make it more sensible.
Well, you got to think too. This is the generic controller that comes with the system, and then you got all these different controller companies that come out. These third-party controller companies that say, "Hey, look, we have aftermarket controllers for you," and they're designed a little bit differently.
Now, Blood Glacier says that they're 20% larger from the look. Do you think so?
I think it's really hard to tell. Seeing it with that person holding it, um, it looks like it might. I don't know. I guess it doesn't look too much bigger. I would kind of want something a little bit larger than that. But really, one of the big things for me, along with the size and comfortability that it carries, is how sturdy is it?
I don't know. That's
Because I don't know if if you guys have played on the PS3s and PS2s and stuff, those controllers are really flimsy. I can feel them about ready to break. And that's really one of the big things. I mean, when you're asking $60 for a controller, it should not break by holding on to it.
No, I'm afraid when I played on my great nephew's PS3 and I was doing regular block ops, I was afraid because when I get mad, I kind of like squeeze it a lot, and I felt like I was about to break it. And I'm not that strong, but I felt like it would break in my hands. And Glacier says, glad they didn't go the route of the original Xbox controller.
The Duke.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Duke was
Yes.
huge.
You could eat off that thing. It was so big.
And then
no gamer will ever forget about it.
the Xbox One controller does look bigger than the 360 controller.
Actually, there should be a comparison side by side with the 360 and
Yeah,
Xbox
I was
One.
looking for that, but I couldn't.
They
find it
actually
right
really
now,
don't
so.
look bigger.
I was going to say, they've actually put the battery pack in there differently this time, so it should be one smooth unit, where before that pack looked like you were loading in some shotgun shells or something. It was so large and bulky, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the big improvements. They said 40 improvements in this controller. And
Yeah, well, go ahead.
go on.
No, I was gonna mention the big one was the response on the actual trigger.
Yes.
It's about time they've actually did that and made it to where it felt like a trigger and not just a pushable button like the XYAB.
Yep.
So yeah, that was definitely an excellent addition that they've added.
Yeah, the new impulse trigger is what they're calling it, and it's supposed to give you a response. So, and there was actually an interview with a guy who actually got to someone at IGN. He got to try out Forza.
Yeah, I
on
think
the
that's this one
controller.
right here. The interview
And-
up here.
Yep. Yeah, I think, and he was talking about how even when you're, pulling your left trigger for the brakes, you can really feel like the brakes are catching, and the more you pull in, the more the brakes apply. And this is something that I agree. It's in games today. Even though the 360 controller's triggers feel amazing, I love the nice spring back, but it still has a threshold where it gets to this point and bam, it fires the signal. But with these, the more you pull, the more it applies. This is stuff that is going to be amazing for next gen. I'm excited to see what kind of games we get to see that utilize this technology.
Now, you're talking about the triggers and stuff. This is something that I've been talking about with my friends, even when I was in the Army, and back when America's Army first came out. I was in a group there, and we talked about it because some of the people that played it with controllers, and we discussed the fact that how cool it would be to have the triggers like the trigger pull of a gun, where you don't know when it's going to go off. It's the same amount of force. You got to squeeze it, not jerk it like you see these dang kids do nowadays when they're playing and goofing off guns and stuff. It's that precision tune to match a weapon, and we even got as far as talking about you could go into the settings and change it to precision just by naming off one of the guns, like AK. Okay, it's gonna be this much, and it'll fire this much of a pull. When you let go, this is the spring back amount. M16, M4, and we went on, and we were thinking. In fact, I was talking with one of them this morning about this because they were talking about the response trigger on the Xbox One controller, and we were thinking, well, they have the technology now to do exactly what we were talking about 8-9 years ago. Can we start seeing it with this system?
Actually, I think we will definitely soon, because I know there was some talk about some other games. I know Sniper Ghost Warrior 2, kind of started trying to do that with the current gen tech, but obviously with that threshold, and then it fires a signal. Now you'll start to, I'm sure you'll definitely be able to see more games like that where if you really have that precise squeeze of the trigger, you'll start seeing some more stuff like that. And I don't think we'll see it right away. That's something we'll probably see maybe starting next year.
Because I know a lot of the oh crap, what was that? There was an arcade game that was real big in all the arcades that actually had the sniper scope and everything on the rifle, and it applied that technology, and they had it in there. That was 2006 is when we started seeing it, and they had one there at Fort Knox where I was stationed, and it was one of the first places they put it in just for us soldiers to try it out and give feedback. And we were going through the levels, when you'd pick up a different weapon, the trigger adjustment would automatically take effect with that weapon as soon as you pick it up. And we thought that was the coolest thing. And now we may or may not be seeing it in consoles.
Well, I think we all can agree. As a PC gamer, uh, the mouse and the keyboard is still going to be king. I don't care what they come up with as far as triggers or whatever. Give me a mouse and keyboard any day, and I'll show you a real kill some real kill shots. So I don't know, but I digress.
My Razer
Well,
Naga and my
oh, yeah.
Razer keyboard and my
Oh,
Razer
boy.
headset. Yeah, I'm set.
Oh, man. You're not a Razer fanboy, are you?
Nah,
No.
just a little.
Just a little.
Just a
That's all right.
little.
Everyone's got to be a fanboy about something.
I just
But
think
no,
the
yeah, and
quality
I
of their
think
products is great.
we'll debate about that later. No, hey, everyone's got their thing. Everyone's got issues with everything, and and that's exactly it. There are those people out there that just want their mouse and keyboard. That's what they want. And then there are those people that they are looking for a controller.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. Controllers are great in other aspects, but when it comes time to shoot, I just that precision is just not there. And you know what? Honestly, I think I see that here in the chat as well. I would love to see the consoles integrate maybe a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse or wireless keyboard and mouse. I don't see why they haven't done that already. Merge the two, make
Well,
people.
Um, Actually,
actually, they
they
have in
have,
some
and
aspects.
it's
I mean,
listed here. I found a chart that goes over the pros and cons of each and the features in each, even price and everything. But the ones that have the Bluetooth technology is, of course, the PlayStation 4, and I think it's the Wii U. Let me look. We use the blue line, so where did I go? Yeah, Bluetooth is on the Wii U and the PlayStation 4, but not the Xbox One.
well, and that's the thing. And honestly, I wouldn't go as to say Bluetooth keyboards and stuff. Uh, Bluetooth isn't really what people think it is. It's not as great as people
Great.
think. But both, okay, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One have USB 3.0 ports. I mean, a lot of the keyboards we get, I mean, if you're a true PC gamer, you're using wired keyboards and wired mice just because we all know it's a lot more responsive than you would see on a wireless setup.
Absolutely.
So, and actually, the PS3 does have some support for mouse and keyboard. In some parts, I do see it on the Xbox 360 as well. Maybe we will see that open up a little bit more, and I think some of that is really just up to the developers.
Blood Glacier says, man, just let us plug them in already on the Xbox. PS does it. It would open up access to more complex RPG games for one. And Stone agreed with him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The more complex, the better, I say.
Now, here we've been I will say, I won't say we were unfair, but here on Gaming as Usual, some of us has been bashing the new Xbox One and about what's been going on with it and everything else. But at the same token, I, because I am the type of person I am that will, I'll say the negatives, the positives, and everything else about all systems. I try to be honest with the people that are going to be buying these systems pretty much, which is why I said right from the beginning, don't buy any of these dang systems 6 months to a year after they come out. I mean, wait that long at least, because they will be making improvements, changes, this and the other thing. But I wanted to point out, we have been putting PlayStation 4 on the high horse lately, and I want to make sure people understand with the PlayStation 4, if you're going to be playing online games, now you actually have to pay a sub. It's going to be, I think they said $5 a month was confirmed. So it's not as much as the Xbox One. Xbox
Actually, it
Live.
is the same price.
It is. They did.
Yes.
Yeah. They both come out to $60 a year.
And I think you might be alone on the pedestal there with PlayStation 4. I think last show I definitely made sure that I posed that question about Sony not being the hero that they want us to believe they are. Um, they're doing some things here where they're quietly trying to implement, uh, have the publishers take the blame. I guess is the big thing. So we'll see what happens.
So wait, now what you're saying now is that the Sony players are going to have to pay to be online like the Xbox players.
Yep.
Yes, that is true. Okay, sorry. It'll be okay. Like Xbox, they have the gold and the silver subscriptions. It'll be basically the same exact thing. Now you have to pay to play multiplayer online on PlayStation 4.
However, you will still get free Netflix, free. All the other apps are free. The only thing you're paying for is to play multiplayer online.
Well,
That's,
there is more to it that you have to pay for.
but they
They
haven't
haven't
gone
gone
into
into full
full
details.
detail. Yeah.
Yeah,
But they
that's
did
the
say
issue.
Netflix and Hulu and the other one are free.
Okay, now Black Glacier says everyone keeps on mentioning the sub fee on PlayStation, but I'm used to it as an Xbox gamer. I will be buying Xbox One day one. I mean, yeah, they are going to improve them, but there will be improvements on that version and the next. So why wait? My biggest deciding factor is that the exclusives for Xbox are far more exciting than the PlayStations. But here you go, Glacier. With that Xbox One, you can be videotaped. The government can see you
Yeah.
without your.
Oh, see, that's going too far.
Well,
That's going too far.
we ain't
I
gonna
have to
touch
stop
on
you.
that. We ain't gonna touch on that right now because that was touched in a previous show and the news articles up and stuff. Yes, people can watch you. They say that the Connect device can be shut off the video camera, but they also have gone back and said it will be turned on automatically when updating certain features or when playing certain devices or activating certain things on your Xbox. Which means they can turn it on whenever the heck they want. But we ain't going to be getting into that aspect because we've hit on it enough on our show.
Well, I'm just gonna throw it out right now, just to completely, before we shut it down. I want people to know they will not be recording you and sending information to the government. That is just a really annoying conspiracy theory that people have issues with. They have come out and said you will choose what you want to be sent to the cloud. If you want anything recorded from your Connect, that's up to you. Now we can move on.
Yeah. Um, but anything you send to the cloud will be sent elsewhere. But anyways, my big thing about not buying it right away. Granted, you we're pretty sure Microsoft has learned from their mistakes before about the Red Ring of Death. They may have learned that. But every time a new piece of hardware or equipment or anything comes out, I've seen it in the past with big name companies that you think would learn from their previous mistakes. Either that same mistake happens or something else goes wrong. And there's going to be a ton of bugs with it. In fact, there's already been tons of bugs while they were on stage doing presentations for some of their exclusives. They weren't playing right. They couldn't get it to work. In fact, there was like a 5-minute video of them trying to get this one game to work on stage, and it's like, really? And as far as their exclusives, they have far less than anyone else right now that they've shown. I don't know for sure if they have far less overall, but as far as they've shown, they have less.
And now you're saying Microsoft is showing less?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I was
saying.
gonna say, are you getting that right, or are you talking about PlayStation there? I thought PlayStation only had 8 exclusives,
Yeah.
and Xbox had 15, and
Yep.
they were sharing some with the PC. But I mean, that's Microsoft also. So I mean,
Well, when I'm
Yeah,
talking about
that's-
exclusives, I mean exclusive to that console. Not sharing a PC, not sharing anything else. That's what exclusive means, is exclusively to that console. I mean, that's just my definition. I mean, that's the definition I grew up understanding and everything else. And I don't understand, what is it? Actually gonna try to find this one real quick because I found it earlier.
Penguin says that the Kinect is always on though.
Yes, the Kinect always has to be hooked up. Um,
It can be turned off, actually.
it can be turned off, but it has to be connected at all times.
And Glacier says, well, that's the problem with live shows. So many things that you need to go off without a hitch, hard to pull it off perfectly. I think that Count Sunny had a 6 Xbox and 8 purely exclusive to that platform, but had more that are also shared with PC. And Penguin says, so who's to know when it's recording without your permission?
That can be
It
argued.
actually has a light on the Kinect that tells you when it's on.
But real quick, this is something that I've seen that was touched on earlier when I was watching the E3 live event and stuff like that. Xbox has these exclusive titles for Xbox One. Some of which are games that, I don't want to say games, but titles and companies that you knew would remain with Xbox and Microsoft, because in some ways some of these companies are actually umbrellaed under Microsoft, so you know they're going to be there. Others have just been with Microsoft for a long time. But some of these titles are also older titles that are just being redone. And then there's also ones like, I don't understand how this is 1998 and Xbox is now Nintendo with Killer Instinct. That makes no sense to me at all.
Microsoft purchased Rare, who were the developers of Killer Instinct. In purchasing that studio, they then owned the rights to Killer Instinct.
And not only that, I mean, who doesn't want to see a Killer Instinct? I mean, are you serious right now? Like, you don't want to see Killer Instinct?
I want to see it. I want to see it. But I grew up playing Killer Instinct on I'll say semi-square controller with D-pad and up to 6 buttons. That was it. No joysticks, no nothing. And if I'm going to play the game that I grew up and was playing tournaments against neighborhood kids, playing tournaments at, I ain't going to reveal my age, but at school, and we played on these old controllers. And to me, when games like that get brought back, I can't play them on other controllers. And to me, thinking I'm going to have to play it on the 360 controller, not going to cut it.
That just takes it to a whole new level of old-fashioned. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, you know, I think you'll be all right. I think you'll be okay.
I mean, that's like when past Christmas I bought my kids a Wii for Christmas because it was supposed to be the console for kids or for younger families and stuff, and they wanted Mario, so I bought the Mario games. And I sat down with them the very first day, started playing, and I'm like, this isn't Mario. This ain't the Mario. So I went into was it the Wii Shop, or I forget what it's called now, and purchased the old Mario. Super Mario Brothers 1, Mario Bros. 2, Mario Bros. 3, all
Okay,
those.
you're
That's what we're
a
playing. I don't like it with. I mean, I love it when they change stuff, but my classics they can't change.
Well, I
All
think
right,
you're one of a few, so we'll agree to disagree on that one. I'm very excited.
I wanted to talk about the Oculus Rift. What do you guys think about this?
Well, I'm extremely excited, first and foremost. This is something that I've been excited ever since they first announced this project. It's not something that we're not used to actually seeing things like this, and I think it'll definitely kind of help in advancing gaming and stuff like that. Just as in the same way as including tablets and stuff will.
Yeah, and to me, it looks. I watched the guy playing it earlier, and then they actually, I forget, I ain't got the site up anymore, but it was live stream anyway, so they probably didn't have a recap of it where I can go to it now and watch it. They're probably busy editing it. But earlier there was someone live streaming. Uh, he played it some, and then because they only give you like 15 minutes to preview these things, before his time was up, he hooked up his camera inside of it to show what it looks like from the inside, and he said it should look great. He did put some concerns in there. You guys got to remember before I go too deep in this, this is a beta project. It's prototype, that sort of thing. He did say he had some concerns about the way it fits, and he thinks that it's gonna be one of those things that either makes or breaks it because, and I see where he's coming from with this because watching their and them talk about it and stuff today, it's like a ball cap. You're gonna have to have multiple sizes. Granted, the things on the side adjust and probably the top strap adjusts, but it's like the goggles that we had in Iraq. Is how's it gonna fit right here? If you got one size head, you're gonna need a smaller size. You're gonna need a larger size. It's to me, it's gonna either make or break it.
Glacier agrees. Something like he says, "Oh yeah, something like that would have to be uncomfortable." And I was just thinking that they look like goggles, and that they would be very uncomfortable. I can't wait till they get an updated version where they're a little bit smaller and not so big and
Yeah, well, and the size is one of those things that's going to be difficult. And I think really when it comes to the size, that'll probably just be how they adjust it by kind of giving it more of a sleek look. But it's built using two separate screens that I believe the last time they said it's 7-inch screens because they were planning on doing 5 or 6, but they ran out. So they decided that they would just upgrade the screen size because they had enough of the 7s apparently. So that's one of the things is the size is definitely going to be a difficult thing to work with. And again, that's probably just where they kind of adjust its appearance.
Well, guys, I'm going to date myself here right now and say that this is not the first time we've seen this. Back in the day, in the '90s, when I was a younger pup, Virtual Boy was out, and I remember that being ridiculously popular. I don't think that many people are going to care about how it fits or any of that. They're going to want this thing. I know that they're also up. They just recently upgraded this, and they've got a prototype where it's going to be 1080p. So there, people are going to deal with it being uncomfortable. They're going to deal with everything because I think back in the day, the Virtual Boy sold like hotcakes. I mean, back when gaming wasn't as big as it is now, and that unit I remember clearly being over $150 because my parents told me, heck no. They didn't
Yeah,
care
but
how cool it was.
there was a cheaper version because there was a Virtual Boy, and then there was another knockoff one that came out like a year later that was just a strap around the head and this little, I want to say it stuck out about 2 to 3 inches from your forehead, and then a little red screen that would fold down and fold up, and you'd fold it down in front of your right eye, I believe it was, and that's what screen everything was in that. But you could see through the red screen. You could see your character and stuff on it. You can move it with the little controller. Because that's the cheap knockoff one that my parents got me. Because we couldn't afford the big name one. But that's one I remember. And I played the crap out of that. I actually wore the headband. I remember wearing it clear through and having to makeshift fix it to get where I could still play it. But you're right,
Yeah,
it was very popular.
and that's what I was gonna say. I mean, I don't. They've teased us with this long enough since back in '95. Here it is now, 2013. Give us virtual goggles. I don't care if I have to shave my head to get this thing to work. We're gonna do it, and we're gonna love it. I don't care.
Next thing you'll know, they'll give us eye implants to where we can just walk around without no goggles on, just watch and play.
Or like some sort of contacts. That'd be kind of cool.
All right, are you back with us? I seen you drop out there for a minute.
Yep, I'm back.
Okay. So we talked about several different controllers. I want to touch on, because we did mention it earlier, the I keep wanting to say iPad, but the pads that are with the tablets, thank you, that are with these systems. Of course, the Wii U has the gamepad.
The gamepad. Oh.
Smart Glass is for the 360 Vita, or no, the Vita's for PS4. Why can't they just say freaking tablet? Don't need to name the dang thing. Tablet for PS4.
The Vita is their little handheld mobile. They could have just called it like the PSP2 or something like that, but I guess Vita is a better name.
But we should discuss how these things are now not only being used to view, because I remember when the tablets first came out, you could use them to watch Twitch channels, you could use them to watch just TV and everything in general. Now, not only can you use it to watch people play games, you can actually be in the dang game, controlling your character and stuff, side by side with someone that is using the their controller and their system and whatnot.
Personally, I'm actually a huge fan of this. This is something I've kind of actually wanted for a while. And I'm one of those people that feels that integration with tablets into our game consoles as well, being able to have friends come in on their tablets, maybe if they're not at home or they're on their way riding the subways, things like that. I feel that is one of the futures of gaming, is expanding the integration in how we play.
Absolutely.
And I have to agree with you, because I also think that hopefully soon in the near future we're going to get cross console gameplay, and people say, well, that ain't going to happen because these big names are going to fight against each other. Okay, great. You're going to have games that aren't exclusive to any of these titles or to any of these consoles that have multiplayer capabilities that people are going to be like, well, I want to play with my friends, but he's got an Xbox, he's got a PlayStation. I'm just not going to play with him because I can't afford this brand new system. But then you throw in there that, look, man, you can now play with people on PC if you have a PS4. Just giving you a demonstration. They have not said that, just to let you know. But you can play with people on the PC. That's a selling point right there. You say Xbox One, you can now play with people on the PlayStation 4. Bam! Now you got people that already have these systems that were not buying that particular game because they didn't have anyone to play with. They'd go to their friend's house and play because they don't know anyone else that has the game, play it, whatnot. But now that they have the access to do cross-console gaming, they're gonna buy that game to play it with their friends. So it's a double-edged sword, I guess you can say. They're gonna
Yeah,
lose some money with selling consoles, but they'll gain more, in my opinion, by selling the games. The industry
yeah,
as a
and I'm
whole will
actually
gain more.
yeah, and Blood Glacier, I'm actually definitely going to touch on this here. This isn't actually really new. You've seen multi-platform play already on the 360. I don't if you've heard of this game. It was actually a pretty big deal for a while. Shadowrun.
Hmm.
That was actually on Windows and Xbox. You were able to play against each other even if you had a friend on PC and you were on your Xbox. And that was a huge deal. Now, obviously technology has changed, so the connection between the two is definitely a lot better. But it's been there. And then even going to a more recent title, Defiance. It's this actually during development, they had the game. You were able to play Xbox, PS3, and PC. All three of them were actually able to interconnect and play with each other. Of course, you know, again, this is where it really comes in. You know, their consoles don't want to play ball. Now, from what I recall, it was actually mostly Sony making the final call. Xbox was like, I'm not really sure. But yeah, that's really the thing is I don't know that we'll really see these two heads playing ball with each other. It's a big deal. It's something that again, in a perfect world, of course we'd be playing with our friends on other consoles, but I don't see that happening anytime soon at all.
I mean, even if
But
they were to put it
yeah,
into like, oh man, what was that? There was a recent game, and I can't remember the dang name of it. It was a space age type game, and the PC gamers were like flying around these spaceships and doing this, that, and the other thing. But they could talk to their friends that were on. I want to say it was either I think it was Xbox 360 that
actually,
were
I think I know what
down,
you're talking about.
on the planets collecting resources and stuff. Their friends
Yep,
that were on. Yeah, I forget what game it is, but I thought
Dust
that
514 and Eve Online.
Eve Online. That's it.
Yep.
That
That
was
was the
cool.
PS3 and the PC. And yes, they are two completely different games. Dust 514 on the PS3, which, free to play first person shooter. But then you go to the PC and you're playing this MMO that's been around for 10 years already. And they're able to interconnect. And I do think that's definitely a big step and an advancement for gaming. And I'm glad to see that now we're starting to see tablets kind of come in and actually be more welcome. And, you know, hey, gamers play on all kinds of different platforms. And if you're allowing me to play some of these amazing games and then also hop in on a tablet to help out, like with the Division, the UAV there, that's an amazing mechanic.
Hmm.
And then Battlefield 4 showed it with the new, or well, actually, it's not new, but the commander mode that's returning, and them using their tablet to call in missile strikes. The extension of gameplay through additional platforms like tablets and addition and other controllers that have their own special stuff as well. I definitely think that it's helping gaming as a whole.
Now, I don't want anyone out there to lie, but I know some of you guys are going to be there. Just go ahead and raise your hand if this is going to be you. You're going to be playing the game on PS4, Xbox One, what have you, and you're going to have your tablet sitting beside you. And, like, if you need to call in Commander Strike, instead of calling out to your friend, you're calling out to your invisible friend and just reaching over and hitting those buttons on the tablet to do a Commander Strike. How many of you guys would do that? I know you are.
Well, with Battlefield 4, you really can't because they have it set up so only one person per team can actually be the commander. And I guess we don't know how it works in Division.
That's what I was going to say. Division, that's going to probably be a very difficult one. And I also, I wonder, if they won't lock that out so that you won't have people doing that, and really will be able to get people to go ahead and integrate some of their friends and make these games more playable. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Well,
I
I'm
know
sure.
the demonstration that they showed, they said that because the one guy that was on stage, of course, so he was the first one there, and then the buddy that came up to him, the other guy that came running up, he said that was the guy on the tablet. And
Yep.
I don't know if the gal was on tablet, smartphone, what. Who knows? She could have been on another console somewhere. But then they had a fourth person show up, and I was like, wow. And they're talking about you can even have more than that. It's like, I want to see one of
Yeah,
these
and
games go
that's
to eight
definitely.
player teams
Oh
instead
yeah.
of sticking with just 2 or 4 player teams. I'm tired of that. Or even 5 players. Like, ooh, 5 player, ooh. No, I want to see it because they can now use the tablet.
Yeah.
And before you were stuck with only 4 controllers would go with your system, and even still only 4 controllers. But if you integrate the tablet, the internet access now, you can get games that have 8-man teams, fire teams. I mean, in the army you had 12-man teams, um, squad 1, squad 2, squad 3, squad 4. That's a platoon. I mean, I would love to see some of that in a game now, where you got a squad 12-man team to play the game. You got fire team of 4 or 5 people. You got a platoon 40 plus. I mean,
Yeah. And I think you'll definitely start seeing some of those improvements in the amount of players that can be in. And I'm pretty sure how they'll end up doing it with the division is you'll have your universal account. If you're logged into your console, you can't log in on the tablet. You'll have to log into one or the other, and I'm sure that's how they'll do that.
sure.
Now, I'm wondering, changing the subject, sorry, um, with the PS4 now going to be charging people to go live and stuff, are they going to make it so if you're not playing the game with certain people, you can get into a party and still be able to talk to them? Because I know there's a lot of complaints from the PS players because they can't do that like we can on the Xbox.
Actually, I don't know if they've said anything about a party system.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
pretty.
hasn't been mentioned yet.
They haven't mentioned it, but I'm pretty sure something is there with at least some games, because like these people that were playing Division on the PS4. Granted, it's not open world yet. It's just there being tested and stuff. But they were able to jump right in, even though it's going on. I think they said it's up to 24 computers or 24 systems at once. There in the booths and stuff. Plus, the demonstration hall had it going at the same time, and we're able to get right into the respected 4-man groups. I don't know if they were just set up on different LAN networks or what, but it appeared to me like you can actually join your friends just by. Many of us computer gamers use Steam. Um, we see a friend online, we can right click, we can go join game, bam, we're in their game. I'm pretty sure that's the way they're gonna have it set up.
Well,
Like,
yeah, they'll have that, but I think she was talking about how on Xbox Live we have the party system where you can have a group of members join in, all your friends and all that stuff. But they can all be playing any different game. On the PlayStation 3, you can't do that. But I guess it looks like you actually can finally do that now on the PlayStation 4. But there's still some questions. Well, what if I have a friend on the PlayStation 3? Can he talk to me, or what? How does this work? So we'll have to see because from what it looks like, both Microsoft and Sony aren't really at the point where they're just gonna kick the current gen out the door once the new gen comes out.
Yeah, and
So
that's
we'll
something
definitely
too.
have to look.
People were asking earlier about holding on, like you were just talking, they ain't kicking the current gens out the door. People don't realize when I'm saying to go ahead and just hold off on buying a new system between now and next year's E3, they already have talked and scheduled 100 games for the Xbox 360 to be released between now and next year's E3.
Well, not only that, they've also launched a new Xbox. It looks like an Xbox Slim, in my opinion. But they've launched a new Xbox, and they're shipping that out. People are purchasing them, so they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, and
Well, Blood Glacier says, from what he's gathered, they said that you can finally talk across games. So I would expect something similar to the Xbox Live Party system, is what Glacier is saying.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier, which it's definitely something that
yeah, that's why I was looking because you were just talking about porting people from PS3 to PS4 and talking to them that way, and that's what I was looking at because this here has got reputation and preservation. I figured, well, maybe it's
yeah.
listed there, but it's not. They only say that PS4 trophies will be ported, and of course 360
Well, and we
achievements.
know the accounts will be ported to the
Yeah,
new consoles, but what people's concerns are is if they have a friend that hasn't got the PS4 yet, will they be able to talk to their friend on the PlayStation 3 if they're not playing the same games?
I have.
So yeah, that's definitely a concern that I can truly understand.
Now let's talk a little bit. We just about the consoles and their specs themselves. The optical drive, or as most of you guys would know it, the disc drive. PlayStation 4 is Blu-ray, DVD. Same with the Xbox One, but the Wii U is only a 25 gigabyte optical disc, and it's
Yeah,
proprietary.
it's a custom format that they created for the Wii. They should have just gone with Blu-ray. I think it would have been so much easier
I think it'd
because
been
with
cheaper
this,
for them.
wait, that's probably what it would have been. 25
Yeah.
gigabyte optic disc. That's basically, some of your smaller uh, factor Blu-ray discs. Just
Yeah,
get that licensing and you're good to go. You're saving a little money. They probably could have come in at a lower price point.
Yeah, 299. I was imagining.
Well,
And
they already are at 299. If you want the was it, I want to say it was the X the some screen or some other thing. It was the updated controller or something. It was the 349, but
right, yeah.
it's 299 without that special feature.
I just put a link to show the picture of what Coco just put into our chat about what they're showing for the PS4 at.
E3 actually, yeah, that's a controller. If you could go ahead and get that graphic up so we can see it, that controller is actually looks pretty much like the Xbox controller, and they're showing that at E3 as we speak. So
Yeah, but see it's the PlayStation actually the what I understand because I was reading an article that had this shown in it earlier, and the reason I didn't show this earlier when we were talking about the controllers is this isn't by PlayStation. This is not the one that's coming with. This is not the one that's coming with 360.
right,
This is one of those third-party controllers I was talking about earlier.
absolutely, absolutely.
However,
If it was a third party, I wouldn't have put it up there.
this was a good example, which I'm glad you put it in there. Um, this controller is one of those I was talking about where they just take off the faceplate or whatever you want to call it and adapt
Yeah,
it to the other ones. They have said Fusion or Fusion 1, whatever you want to call them, by Power A. This is the Power A is the company, and this is the controller, the Fusion 1. They are going to make controllers like this Fusion 1. It's going to be for Xbox, and it's going to be for PlayStation. They said they haven't said if the design is going to change, but they said the Fusion one is going to be available for both. And then they had this picture and they had some other pictures, but yeah, it would be nice to get this controller on the PlayStation 4 and those that are used to the PlayStation controller get one like it on the Xbox One for them. But we'll have to see how that works. But yes, this is one of those third-party controllers, and as you can see right here, I'm trying to move my mouse so you guys see it. There's a little ABA screwdriver because they were taking these apart earlier. It
yeah,
comes with the kit, and these two pieces here actually clip on like this one is. You can see how there's that groove there. It opens up, and you can adjust it to make the grips smaller, like the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 3 controller is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, um, I was gonna show one other
Look,
thing. Can't remember what I did with it, but anyways, back to what we were talking about. With the schematics, as I'm gonna call it, for the different consoles.
when you're done with the schematics, I want to do a giveaway.
Okay, yeah, it ain't gonna take long to do the schematics. All right, game DVR. PlayStation 4, yes. Xbox One, yes. Wii U, of course not.
Oh, and can we go back to the DVD, the optical drive, really quick? Something that was weird that I noticed last night, and I think I was talking to Stearnsy about it the other night as well, is that
Oh yeah.
they are not going to support CDs anymore, and I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if it's okay or not, but it just seems really silly to have a drive that is shaped like a disc that does not play all disc. I think that's kind of
That
crazy.
was Sony that confirmed that, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was.
and both of them have talked about not being able to use an actual CD in their drives, and this was being talked about. I forget who was talking about earlier. I was on their channel chatting with them a bit about this, and we were talking about, like you guys were saying, you can't use CD anymore. And he is like me. We love music, and always talking about putting music in our system, listening to it. When I had my 360 a few years ago, I was constantly listening to music through it, even while playing games, and putting music on there to run. And he's like, "How are we gonna do that now, other than USB?" I'm like, "Well, I ain't gotta worry about it. I got 6 1 TB external hard drives I can just plug in there and good to go. They're all full of music. You guys with your CDs, that's your problem." But he's got a great point. Is without that CD, there's gonna be a lot of people, unless they're burning it to DVD drive, DVD discs and playing them that way. But you can't buy them in the store like that.
Well, does this mean that they're going to adopt like an iTunes idea where they're going to have you download content directly from the cloud? Xbox is now going to be an Apple store or an Android store. Is that what they're thinking?
Well, I'm sure both of them will allow you to put your own music from external sources. What we do know is Sony has been making a huge push for their Music Unlimited service. Uh, it seems
Sure.
like maybe this might be one of their ways of kind of pushing us and saying, "Hey, you know what? You just use this. You know, you can't put those CDs. Just use this." Uh, who knows?
And I mean, it's the same for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They both are Blu-ray DVD only, and of course we
Yeah.
use off in their own land with that one. Um, RAM. PlayStation 4 has got the 8 gig DDR5. The G DDR5, and the Xbox One has got the 8 gig DDR3. In my opinion, I've used both in computers, and to me, the DDR5 seems to be more responsive, faster, everything, even if it's the
Well,
same
yeah.
size.
The GDDR5 is actually it is twice as fast as DDR3. But then again, you know, just because it's twice as fast doesn't mean it's going to be used properly. That's the main issue. RAM is one of those. RAM is one of those parts in a computer that is easily one
Iffy.
of the most fragile pieces, which is probably why they're so much cheaper than all the other parts
Which is
because
what I was
it's the
gonna,
easiest part to create.
which is what I was gonna touch on. DDR5 is faster. Yes, confirm. Yes. However, in my opinion, and I will say professional because I've built computers for companies and stuff before, DDR3 is more reliable. It doesn't burn
Absolutely, and
out
that's
as
why
quick or
Microsoft went
anything
with it.
else.
Well, yeah, and then there's another part. Okay, yeah, you can argue, well, they have GDDR5, it's twice as fast. It's better than DDR3. Yeah, that's true. However, Xbox One and Microsoft, Microsoft has really said Xbox One, we're really looking to expand your console experience to not just solely run on the Xbox One itself. You'll be able to utilize the cloud for computing, and this is definitely something I really want to touch on, but I'm just gonna kind of graze it quickly. With the cloud is really going to expand the Xbox One more than people think, just because it has the DDR3, which yes is notably more reliable uh, in its own right. I think that they're still kind of on a similar level, and that's something that people shouldn't overlook yet.
Well, this is Microsoft learning their lesson from before. There is a more robust fan in this new unit, so it's breathing better, and they want to make sure that they're putting reliable parts in there. They don't want to have another debacle like Red Ring Death of 2006, or was that 7? Whatever it was. They don't want to have that happen again. So, yeah, this might be a next gen console, but GDR3 is still a very reliable piece of equipment. Why not go with it?
Glacier
Yep.
says, man, either way, they both have like 10x the 10x the RAM as the last gen.
Which is
Yeah,
true.
and he's actually right. For those that didn't know, the Xbox 360 has 512 megabytes of RAM, whereas also the PS3 actually had only 256 megabytes of RAM. And just seeing how amazing those games can actually look with the technology that they have, and say what you want, yeah, okay, PC gaming is going to look better, but look at the technology that the current gen consoles hold and how great those games look for what they have. We're talking 8 gigs of RAM for these consoles. These games are going to look phenomenal.
Yeah, very
And
generous.
do you know that this is one thing that I want to point out? Um, the reason they up the RAM so much, in my opinion, now this is just an opinion based, but it's because they are doing more online. They're connecting more to the web,
Yes.
all that.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
RAM is, people think RAM is, oh, that's my power of my computer. It's great. Da, da, da. No. RAM is how fast you open up the windows. Some of the RAM is used to open up windows that are already on your computer, yes. But the majority of RAM is used to open up your tabs in your or in your browsers, open up to the internet, connect to the internet, listen to live streams like what you're doing now through the internet. That's what your RAM mainly works with.
Yeah, exactly. And then also with them saying how their consoles are definitely going to do a little bit more than just connecting. They have the quick switch and stuff like that. So you'll be able to just quickly switch between watching movies or switch between your games in an instant. Literally in an instant. You'll just be playing one game while searching for a matchmaking game on Call of Duty or whatever. It'll pop up saying, "Hey, we found a match for you," and then you can say, "Well, all right, let's play this." The RAM is definitely going to. That's definitely one of the things is they do need a lot more RAM for that. But then still, adding what they have, that's still not going to really utilize all 8 gigs, not for a while.
Eh,
Glacier also says, oh, so it's 20x the RAM. Good lord.
Yeah,
He's blown away by what they do with the 500 MP. From
the
a gaming perspective, more RAM, more stuff on screen.
all right. So real quick, the Wii U has 2 gigs DDR3. The Xbox One has 8 gigabytes DDR3. The PlayStation 4 8 gigabytes DDR5. My computer 32 gigabytes DDR5. So that means if I get a PlayStation 4 and one of my RAM chips blows my computer, I can take apart the PlayStation 4 and steal one of the RAM chip out of there and put it in my computer.
More than likely not.
I was going to say the
They don't
same
use the
thing.
RAM chips,
I know it's not a computer
it's
RAM
the
chip.
cells, but
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, no, that's hey, that's a great joke.
I mean,
But hey, in a perfect world, of course you can.
it's got a quarter of the RAM that my PC does, but let's not get into that. Let's move on to CPUs. This is where this is my love is CPUs, and PlayStation 4 has blown me away by getting the single chip 86X AMD Jaguar processor 8 core. That is a beast of a CPU.
It is. You know what? That's what I wanted to talk about. AMD is the big winner of the console wars. If you're a PlayStation or you're Xbox, it doesn't matter. AMD is going to the bank on this, and they are happy to see this. Um, these processors are amazing. And then just recently, AMD has released their 5.0 gigahertz processor. So AMD is doing some great things, and they've made a very good decision throwing these processors into these consoles.
Well, they're only throwing it into PlayStation 4 though,
No, that's not true.
because the
It is
Xbox has
the
got the
Xbox.
custom CPU, and
But
they
it's
Actually,
AMD.
it is an AMD. Microsoft signed a $3 billion deal with AMD for custom hardware. It is an AMD processor. It is actually a custom AMD processor for the Xbox One.
okay, because all the articles that I'm reading everywhere just says Microsoft custom CPU,
Yeah, and
and
I think they really need to fix that because it is important that people actually know it is still an AMD built. It's just custom for Microsoft's console.
then of course the Wii U, poor thing, multi-core power PC,
Power PC.
espresso
Oh,
CPU. Yeah,
those poor guys. They really came into they're okay. That is a current gen console. They really sold themselves short, and I feel bad for them. But
that's
Nintendo
what.
plays their own game.
Yeah,
Well, that's the
they are current console, but they do have one thing going for them, which I will talk about later. But let's go on because I'm trying to hurry this up so we can do a giveaway.
Let,
Storage has
let me
got
read. Let me read what Glacier says. He says, so what you're saying is the real winner this year is an AMD.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it
yes,
really is. It is AMD all the way. That $3 billion deal with Microsoft, that right there was alone enough to just say that's a win for them.
Right, and that's why they've released that new
And
processor, that new 8
yep,
core, and I can't wait as a PC gamer. That thing looks amazing.
yes,
yeah.
and the
Not to
fact
mention
that
that
they
core
got
also
their
comes on.
the
Yep.
fact that the
Go on.
AMD's in both consoles, or I
Hmm.
should say both big name consoles, is that's easy enough to say. AMD took it to the bank this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are definitely rolling in all kinds of money right now, and it's definitely kind of a upsetting deal for Nvidia, even though they kind of wanted to do their own thing. And it was crazy that Nvidia actually said they completely turned down all deals because they said that they were asking for not enough money that we were willing to develop for, which kind of hurts me. I'm like, wow, that's that's actually kind of hurtful. That's very snobby. But
All right, so storage. This is what most PC gamers would call hard drive. Um, PlayStation 4, 500 gigabytes hard drive. All right, decent. Xbox One, 500 gigabyte hard drive, and poor Wii U, 8 gigabytes. That's if you get the 299 one. If you pay the 349, you get the 32 gigabyte flash.
yeah, and there are no, well, there are installs for downloads, but there's no installs for disc-based games. And I think that was really some of the reason. But I guess they also do allow the external storage on the Wii
Yes.
U.
Um,
Right.
the external storage for PlayStation 4 has not been announced yet, unless it was announced today and I missed it because I was busy. Um, the external storage for Xbox One is yes, USB, of course, and Wii U, yes, USB. Cloud storage, PlayStation 4, yes. Xbox One, yes. Wii U, no. Mandatory game installs, no for the PlayStation 4, yes for the Xbox One, no for the Wii U. Required internet connection, PlayStation 4, it's not required unless you're playing a multiplayer game or the game itself requires it for other reasons. Um, Xbox One, yes, required internet connection. Wii U, no. Use game fee, we all know what this is. No, yes, no. Backwards compatibility. This is where I said Wii U has got the rest of them. No backwards compatibility for PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. Wii U is compatible with the Wii. So if you got Wii games, you can play them on the Wii U. So there's the
Too
one
bad they didn't go
plus.
back to the GameCube as well.
Right.
Or like Super Nintendo, you
Well,
know,
that
it
was
had a
where
little
the
slot.
great games were, and then
Okay, and Glacier's now saying biggest not is the biggest not is that Sony's is removable and ungradable. Not sure which Microsoft's word on that is though.
Yes, for the hard
Yes.
drive,
Yeah.
the PlayStation 4 is upgradable. Xbox has not said whether or not theirs is.
They have said it is not an upgradable internal hard drive. But then again, there is always that possibility that they release another build that is changeable. But also, as far as we know from some of the things that Sony has kind of talked about, they're not supporting external hard drives. But then again, I guess if it's upgradable, that's not nearly as big a deal. But Microsoft has stated external hard drives are very much an option, which is important to me at least.
All right, so
Good.
cross game chat. Yes for the PlayStation, yes for Xbox, no for Wii. So that's what we were talking about earlier with team chats and stuff. Yes, it's available with PlayStation 4. Yes, it's available with the Xbox One. Motion control, DualShock 4 for the PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 4 Move are all for PlayStation. Connect 2 is for the Xbox. Wii Remote and Wii U Gamepad is both of those are actually included for the Wii U, so that's cool. Second screen, we already covered that earlier. Voice commands, uh, Sony's TBA, Microsoft, Xbox One is definitely yes. No for Wii U. Subscription service, we covered that earlier. USB 3.0 all the way around except for Wii U, it's 2.1. Live streaming, yes for PlayStation 4, yes for Xbox One, no for the Wii U. We already talked about what carries over. Web connection, this is what I get, and they have changed this within the last 24 hours. If you guys were not paying attention or were not listening to the internet web connections, Ethernet IEEE 802.11 B, G, and N were listed for the PlayStation, but for the Xbox until yesterday, it was yesterday afternoon, evening, and this morning they changed it. It was only listed for the 802.11N. They changed it to B, G, and N because I don't know if there was some miscommunication there or what. If you guys don't know, N is if you got a wireless router in your home that's a B or a G, it won't reach N products, but if you got an N router, it will reach B, G, and N products for Wi-Fi. So when they only had N listed, this was a big thing that people were worried about because a lot of people in their homes only had B or G routers. They weren't businesses, so they weren't like huge internet geeks like myself that has the top dollar N. Um, they were worried that they weren't going to be able to get online with the Xbox One because it didn't have B or G. Well, it has been confirmed that it does have B, G, and N now.
Um, Glacier says hope they allow use of the 802.11 AC adapters.
I don't know if they do or not yet. It's not listed. They haven't said whether it does, but it should. Um, Skipping down, Bluetooth, yes for the PS4, no for the Xbox One, yes for the Wii U. AV hookups, which this is something that really sparked my attention earlier. Some of us have older TVs because we don't watch TVs. Um, the PS4 has got HDMI, 4K support. So does the Xbox One. The PS4 also has analog and RCA plus optical. Xbox One only has the HDMI, which I just covered, and the opticals output, but it does not allow analog or RCA. Which, with most people nowadays having the big flat screens and stuff like that have HDMI hookups, they ain't got to worry about it. They can just hook up to the HDMI. But what are your guys' opinion on this not having the analog or the RCA?
It doesn't affect anything.
I
It
was
really
gonna,
doesn't.
I was gonna say the same exact thing. This is a next gen console. People, they need to get with the program. If you're
Yeah.
purchasing, you've got the money for this console, then hey, you've got to have the money to play. That's just the bottom line. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't expect to see the same kind of connections that you had on your NES back in the 80s and 90s. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I agree with you. But the main people that were talking about this earlier, and the main reason I want to bring this up is gamers like myself that try to get multiple consoles, or like back in the day when I used to have every single console that was out, clear up to the Sony um, PlayStation, or no, clear up to Xbox even. I had all the consoles before that, and I would have 4 or 5 of them hooked up to my TV at a time because I had different adapters and everything else. But here, most TVs nowadays only have one or maybe 2 HDMI hookups. If you're using HDMI for all the consoles and you have more than one console, if you're also using it for your DVD player or Blu-ray, whatever, you're also using it for your cable hookup. I mean, I I know from installing cable and stuff that a lot of those HDMI things, when you start adding too many of them, it starts interfering with the signals and with the quality. And I'm just wondering if, because the PlayStation 4 does offer that analog, that will give them a little more emphasis on those that want all the systems. Now they actually can free up a slot for something else.
Yeah. And really, one of the other reasons why I say it doesn't affect anything is because if you are one of those people that some strange reason you have an old TV that doesn't have HDMI, either way, both consoles are shipping with an HDMI cable. Okay, so even if on PlayStation, yeah, it'll support the component, but you'll have to buy that cable separate. Xbox, it's really no different. They have HDMI to component adapters. So either way, it doesn't change anything.
Right. You'll be fine.
Now,
And that,
well, the reason I was asking is I have an older TV that only has 2 HDMI plugins, so.
Get a HDMI switch.
yeah, I was going to say converter, and you'll be fine. I mean, heck, I play Duck Hunt on my NES because I like the retro game, and I can only play it on my older TV. So we all have problems.
Now, this is something that I thought was interesting. Most of us with Xboxes and stuff like that, they were all region locked, where if you bought a game in America, it could only be played on American consoles. PlayStation 4 this year, I don't know if PlayStation 3 had it because I wasn't paying attention. PlayStation 3 last year, I was busy doing other things. But PlayStation 4 this year has announced that their console will not be region locked, which means you can buy a game off the internet from some other country a lot cheaper than America or wherever you may be living, get shipped to you, and it will still play.
Well, and that's not entirely true either, though. If games can still be region locked alongside the hardware, that's really the main issue. Is the hardware isn't region locked, but the games can still be region locked.
Right.
And this goes again to where they're allowing the publishers to decide factors like that.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those things. It's a double-edged sword. Both these companies are playing on a thin line. Microsoft ain't allowing publishers or the gamers to decide any dang thing. They're just saying, here this is. This is how you're gonna accept it. Bend over, and we'll make it go. PlayStation, on the other hand, is like, we're making the developers choose how they want to do it, and
Right.
we get
Well, both
some
consoles
options.
are.
Yeah, well, they are, but they're not, because like Xbox is making the everything where it's gotta be online, gotta be online. They're also making it where it's gotta be region locked. They're making it, and this is why I said it's a double-edged sword. These are choices that these companies have made. Granted, they both had some great marketing ideas and some flops, but at the same time, these are the specs. These are the things that will make or break these companies. Well, I won't say the whole company, but make or
Yeah.
break the release of these systems.
I don't know that necessarily that we're going to Microsoft or Sony really has too much to worry about. I think that uh, you know whenever you try to change some things, you're going to have people that are going to be upset about that. It's just how it works. But I think that Microsoft has got a great vision. I think Sony is playing it safe, which they should. They've been getting hit with their numbers that have split up some departments and things like that. So I mean, yeah, I would play it safe if we wanted to continue to make great consoles and have games and things. So yeah, let Microsoft take it and go out in deep water first and take all the flack and all that and change the game. As a PC gamer, I really feel like consoles have held us back a little bit. Especially after looking at these specs. They could have thrown 32 gigs in there. Why not? I mean, we've got it available. So, but yeah,
And that is something too that people have been touching on, and I believe in this 100%. If you see something on these consoles, it don't matter how small it is, but something you want changed on these consoles, email these companies, tell them what it is, tell them you aren't buying their system, and then wait 6 months to a year. And I guarantee you, if enough people complain and enough people, I guess you can call it vote with your wallet, that they don't like it and they ain't gonna buy it, these companies will make these changes. But right now, as it sits, they're they're thinking they look pretty. They ain't gonna make any changes unless the consumer says so.
Well, at this point in time, it's too late. You can't make changes. You're looking at these consoles releasing November. These changes, you cannot do that.
no,
Hardware is
not
not,
time.
that's not changing. The only hardware you can probably see is the inclusion of AC internals on the slim line consoles. But hardware, that ain't going anywhere. There's nothing they can do about that.
Yeah, and I mean I agree with you there, but what I'm saying is, if people wait long enough, you'll see these changes in, like for example, how many different versions of Xbox 360 came out within the first 2 years while they were fixing everything that people were complaining about.
Well, there was, well, it depends on which the definition, but yeah, they did make improvements
And
and
that's what I'm
stuff.
talking about. They will make these improvements. It won't be right
Yeah,
away because you
and you can't expect that.
yeah, it's gonna take 6 months to a year for them to get all these improvements made and put out to the public and stuff, or before they say, "Oh, we made a mistake." Um, I've actually seen companies do this. I'm trying to remember what it was. There was a graphics card company that was going out and they were talking about their new design and this, that, and the other thing, but they were making it to where if you were going to use their graphics card, the new one that they were designing and going to put out, you had to have their processor. You had to have, I think, this a certain power supply. This and the other thing, and people were like, you know what? We ain't buying this, even though it's a great freaking graphics card, but we ain't buying it because we don't have this processor on our computer. We don't have this power supply on our computer, and we don't want those. And uh, about 2.5 months before the release of this product to be put out on the shelves, they canceled it and they said, "Look, we realize we made a mistake by offering you this great product, but putting restrictions on it." So they pushed it back. I think it was 4 to 6 months until they could rework it to where it would work with other things. So companies will put stuff on back burners and will pull stuff off that they've already been promoting stuff to say, "Hey, look, consumers, you were right. We were wrong. We're gonna fix this issue before we release a mistake." Granted, some companies aren't as smart as others; they won't do that, but you never know until it actually happens.
Did you see what Glacier said?
I was just about to read that.
Yeah, and actually, I did read that, and I completely agree. I think that, and that's one of the things. This is really where people are totally taking things way out of hand. People need to understand there is no fee for used games. That fee that is a cost that is integrated within the price that you pay for your game. And I think that yes, these guys they put 2+ years into developing these games. That's a lot of time. That is a lot of work. I mean, they're putting their blood and money into these games. Why should they not get paid?
And I agree with you there. They should definitely get paid. I just think the ways some of it's done is, I think the whole process should have been thought out and played differently.
Well,
Yeah,
it's changed. I mean, instead of giving that money to GameStop, now you'll be giving that money directly to the developers. Well, some of that money you'll be giving some of that money to the developers, where before they were completely being snuffed out. So this is a good thing.
yeah. And again, with what Blood says, the online pass, I do agree that yeah, you know, they were doing it to support the developers and all that stuff. That is true. That is something that was great, and they had it. But I think that this is really the situation where it's like I like it, but I didn't like spending my money buying a used game, and then basically I might as well have just bought the game brand new because they charged me an additional $15 on top of that. That's really where the issue was. Fundamentally, I was okay with it, but I didn't like having to spend an extra amount of money. Now that things have changed and that price will be included, that's definitely a whole nother ballpark. And again, this is just where gaming is going. We'll all have to accept it and welcome it because I think it only means that we're going to get better games now.
This is when I wish I would still had that article I had when the most recent Tomb Raider had released an article about 2 months after it released. They put a news article out, and it actually broke down how much, like, yeah, they sold bukus and bukus of copies of the game, but they broke down each game costs this much to purchase from the store, and they're like, okay, and they're like, this is how much this person gets, this is how much this person gets, the developers, the artists, this and the other thing, per game. They had broke it down so people could see. Some of these people in the thing only get a fraction of a cent per game that sells. And as far as used games go, here in the past, they haven't gotten anything from a resale of a game, or they've gotten very little. They've just stuck with the 3 cents per game or whatever it is. Um, I just I think that if they were to say when you resell your game and you have to pay to put it on your system or what have you, some of that cost goes to the developers, which they pretty much said it goes to developers and the studio and all that crap. Yeah, but why is it still the fee so high? I think they said some games can be up to $15 fee, and others are gonna be $9. And because they said the price of the fee is gonna depend on the game and the publisher and stuff like that. Um, but some games come out and they're only $9 for the game, or 10, $15 for the game even, and others come out at $60, $90 or $60 to $70 for the game. And then I got to, if I want to buy it used, I gotta pay, I say, $10 to $25. Is that a fair estimate for a used game nowadays? I don't know. I don't
It
buy
really
used.
depends.
I don't
Yeah.
buy used, so I don't know. Um, but yeah, it's like plus another, I'd say 5 to 15, depending on the developer. On top of that, it seems like the used price is a little high for me. If it was like all around $5, I could accept that.
Yeah. And actually, that's another great point that Blood Glacier makes. Seeing digital games at a lower cost than disc-based games, and that's definitely something that I will back. When you're paying the $60 for the games on discs, a lot of that money is actually paying for the manufacturing of the case and the disc and all that stuff. So why am I paying $60 for it if I'm not getting that hard copy?
Well,
I
I'll
think.
tell you why. It's because if the retailer is kind of having to sell it for 60 and you're getting it online for 40, the retailers are going to lose their mind. I mean, who would buy in their right mind? Who would go and buy that hard copy then? So they would completely lose out. So
Plus,
there's
People
no
with
way.
slower internet speeds would be more inclined. It- right
this
now,
is when you're
yeah, it's
paying
a
more
problem.
for the online, or you're paying 60. So most places, I'll tell you this now: if you're gonna buy a game and you're getting the digital copy, you can usually get it a few dollars cheaper than you can in the store buying the hard disk. But here is the thing: the reason why you're paying that top dollar, people seem to think, oh, well, the reason you're paying $60 is for the disc and the manufacturing of the disc and the manufacturing of the case, the sleeve that goes on the case, and all that crap. Yeah, you're paying for that there. Digital copy, you gotta think those games are stored on servers that you gotta pay for. You gotta pay for individual. You gotta pay for maintenance of that server. You gotta pay for maintaining. You gotta actually have someone in there checking all the time, just like you would in a normal store, checking how many copies of this game do I have on disc. And there, it's how many keys do I have for this disc, or for this game? How many um, copies of the game is there? Um, and then you also got to pay fees for transferring data over the internet, which doesn't seem like a lot, but you still have to pay for. Um, it's there's also fees that these companies, the company itself, the game company doesn't, but their distributors and um, their the stores have to pay a licensing fee to distribute that information through the web. It's just like if I was selling music across the web that someone else owned and someone else created, I'd have to pay a licensing fee to sell that music. So all these other little fees that you don't notice are still there. It's just instead of paying for a plastic disc, it's paying for digital space, I guess you can say. So that's why they're still about the same price.
Glacier says two different things. First, he says there's a lot of people out there that are still scared on going completely cloud based. And then he says actually companies are using the sub for the server fees. Ex- ex- accuse or excuse are full of crap going just off Blizzard's exponentials. Well, wow.
Yeah, that is true, Blood Glacier. But how many companies are leaving the sub fee area now? And as far as single player games where there is no sub, like Remember Me, I bought that as digital copy. Um, a lot of the Steam games are digital copies. And then
And
there's,
sweetheart,
I know it's
can
time
you
for the giveaway. That's why I already have it pulled up.
wait? Can you take off Animation Gaming Nation, please?
All right. If you guys are watching this, please get into the chat and type something so that make sure that my thing updates. Because the only way you can get in on this drawing, I know people watch